Welcome to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nicholson, here with bite-sized episodes to empower, educate, and enlighten you with ways to lose weight, heal your gut, and achieve your ideal health so you can live an adventure-filled life. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back for a new episode. For the next several episodes, we are going to talk about a topic that affects us all, but isn't talked about or focused on enough, and that's stress, specifically adrenal gland health. So why do I want to talk about this? Well, this may just be the reason that you are not getting the results that you're looking for with your health. So let's first just talk about stress in general, because it's so much more than just the stress we think about with our careers, deadlines and long to-do lists and relationships and finances. It doesn't even have to be something really, truly happening in your life. It can be the fear of something happening, or the anticipation of something happening, or even the worry of thinking about stress. It's wild how our brains can actually cause the same stress response that actual physical things can also cause. So when it comes to real stressors, these can be physical, emotional, or psychological, or even chemical stressors. Physical stressors would be things like over-exercising. You just push too hard, you lift too heavy, you do too much, you take on too much too early. You just overdo it in physical exercise. And that doesn't have to be just in the gym, but it could be you did a bunch of yard work, or you did something, you just overdid it physically. It can also be under exercising. Yeah, a sedentary lifestyle and not being active enough is actually a stress on the body. We are designed to be active. Physical stressors can also include injuries. If you get in a car accident, or if you tear a muscle, or if you sprain your ankle, these are all stressors in the body. This can also be infections. So if you have a cold or a flu or a yeast infection or a bladder infection, all of these things are stressful. This also includes blood sugar imbalances. And this one is a big one that a lot of people don't recognize. They don't realize how important blood sugar really is. But blood sugar affects all your hormones in your body. It affects your adrenal health. It affects your energy. It affects your disease risk. It's the underlying condition behind gut health imbalances and cardiovascular disease. I could go on and on and on about why we all need to care about blood sugar. Physical stressors can also include inflammatory foods. So if you are eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugar, unhealthy fats like vegetable oils and trans fats, all of those are stressful on the body because they're inflammatory. They're causing damage. The same is true if you are consuming foods that you are sensitive to. This is unique to each person. And even if you're sensitive to a super healthy food, if it's something you're sensitive to, it's causing inflammation. And this is stressful to the body. Physical stressors can also be things like your spine is out of alignment. So maybe you need to go to a chiropractor, or you need a massage therapist or some other kind of body worker. Now, stressors can also be emotional or psychological stressors. And this is what most of us think about when we think about stress. We think about strained relationships or work stress, long to-do lists, and financial worries. But this can also include unresolved childhood or past traumas, even if they're not things that you consciously think about. If they're not things that you think about every single day, or that you're even still aware of, if you've ever experienced trauma or abuse, or you witnessed something horrible in your past, if you haven't dealt with that information in your life, it's probably still affecting you, even if you're not aware of it. This can also come from people who feel like they don't have a fulfilling life, or they don't have passion in their life, or they don't have a purpose, or they feel lonely. These are all emotional and psychological stressors. And lastly, we have chemical stressors. This is another one that people don't often think about, but this would include all of the toxins in our air and water and food. This also comes from our personal care products and our home care products. The medications and supplements that we take can often include chemical toxicants. And of course, drugs and alcohol are also chemical stressors on the body. So these are all of the chemicals and hidden molecules that we are exposed to in our environment, that we put on our body, that we take into our body. All of these toxins have to be dealt with in the body, and that is very stressful. Even lifestyle things like working night shift or staying up too late, not getting adequate sleep, having nutrient deficiencies, and having overstimulation from technologies. These can all also be stressors. Now, I love this analogy that Dr. Donnie Wilson described in her book, her brand new book, Master Your Stress, Reset Your Health. She said, imagine that you had a business manager who regularly and rapidly assigned deadline after deadline after deadline with no pauses to regroup or even reorder supplies. Now, you can probably plug along at this pace for a while, but eventually the entire system is going to crash and fail. The same thing happens in your body. When your systems start to crash from running on stress for far too long, you actually lose the ability to properly digest your food and eliminate waste. Your digestive hormones fail to perform properly. Your stomach acid starts to eat your stomach lining because you're not properly producing the protective mucus. Your undigested food then feeds bacteria in your gut, causing overgrowth that causes gas and bloating. Your intestinal cells can't turn over quickly enough or maintain their tight integrity, so you end up with leaky gut. This sends inflammation throughout the body and potentially causes autoimmune issues or flare ups. Your blood sugar levels start to spike and crash repeatedly, causing insulin resistance, hypoglycemia, and increased belly fat and overall body fat. Your hunger and appetite either increase through the roof or totally disappear, which then leads to either more cravings or you end up with weakness and brain fog. Your libido totally disappears, menstrual cycles can go off track, you end up with more allergies, more frequent infections, and autoimmune issues. You might feel more anxious and unable to calm down because you're overwhelmed with excitatory neurotransmitters and totally depleted of the calming neurotransmitters that can actually get stuck in the production and clearance processes. And so you can end up with too many of the excitatory neurotransmitters and far too few of the calming neurotransmitters. You're left with exhaustion, pain, and a long list of undesired symptoms. Now, the great news is just because we're surrounded by all of these stressors doesn't mean there's nothing we can do about it. There is a lot we have control over. We'll never fully eliminate stressors, and we actually don't want to. We do need some stress, and we will talk about some good stress in upcoming episodes. We do have a lot of control over our diet, our food choices, our meal frequency, and our eating habits. We do have control over when and how we move our bodies. We do have control over the personal and home care products that we use so we can reduce our toxic exposures. And with testing, we can further refine the stress management protocol to enhance your body's ability to handle the stress that you can't control as much. Now, testing gives us that fine detail into how your stress is operating inside your system. Do you have elevated cortisol all day long? Most people think that's the case, but in reality, at least half of the time, their cortisol is actually totally depleted. Now, optimally, we should have the highest cortisol levels in the morning when we first wake up. This is part of what wakes us up and gives us energy to get moving throughout the day. But then the levels should steadily decrease throughout the day. This is part of your circadian rhythm. Most of us are out of alignment, either all day long or at specific points throughout the day. So maybe you're high in the morning and too low in the evening. Maybe you wake up really low and you have a sharp rise in midday and then plummet in the afternoon only to rise again in the evening. These are both very common patterns, but they can look very similar in symptoms. They show up as difficulty sleeping, being tired in the morning, having anxiety or restlessness early in the day. They might be wired and tired at night. Testing is the only way to know exactly what supports and habits will help bring you back into alignment. Now, if you want to know for yourself, then you need to check out my Revitalize Your Life package, which includes a super simple at-home saliva test that will tell us exactly what your cortisol rhythm looks like. This will allow us to personalize the right healing solution to you. I'll drop some examples of the test results and more information about this package in the show notes. Until the next episode, be well and vibrant. Thanks for being a faithful listener to the podcast. I'd love it if you left me a 5-star review on this podcast so that others can more easily find this valuable information. Did you know I also work one-on-one with clients? I approach solving health challenges like I approached solving crimes, by conducting a thorough investigation into your case. Whether you're looking to lose weight, boost your energy, fix your digestive system, or reduce inflammation, I can help. All you have to do to get started is book a free call. The link is in the show notes.